I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. That's the new guidance for fully vaccinated people from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Director Rochelle Walensky.
However, we continue to recommend masking in crowded outdoor settings and venues, such as packed stadiums and concerts.
President Biden says it's a sign of progress.
CDC is able to make this announcement because our scientists are convinced by the data that the odds of getting or giving the virus to others is very, very low if you're both been fully vaccinated and out in the open air.
More than half of adults in the U.S., or about 140 million people, have had at least one shot, and more than a third have been fully vaccinated, according to the CDC. North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper is urging a special prosecutor handle all matters related to the fatal police shooting of Andrew Brown Jr. in Elizabeth City last week, as the FBI now has launched a civil rights investigation.
Andrew Brown Jr. was shot in his car by Pasquotank County Sheriff's deputies carrying out a search warrant based on information that Brown was selling drugs. Attorney Wayne Kendall says the family hired a private pathologist to do an autopsy and found he had 5 bullet wounds, 4 to his arm and 1 to the back of his head.
This, in fact, was a fatal wound to the back of Mr. Brown's head as he was leaving the site trying to evade being shot at.
They say the sheriff's department only showed the family 20 seconds of body camera footage and they want more. The sheriff's department says they have to ask a court and have asked the court to allow them to release more footage. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
The federal appeals court has rejected Ghislaine Maxwell's request for bail as she prepares to be tried on charges she procured underage girls for Jeffrey Epstein. America is listening to Fox News.
Your business is a rocket ship, but you've been grounded because you're still using QuickBooks, spending more time chasing numbers instead of growing your business. Get ready for liftoff with NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything you need to grow, all in one place, instantaneously. Let NetSuite show you how they'll benefit your business with a free product tour at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
Voters in California will likely get a chance to decide if Governor Gavin Newsom should be recalled this fall. One of the Republicans running against him, former San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer, says it's more than just COVID-19 restrictions.
The fact that our public schools in California are still fully not reopened. It just doesn't make any sense. And I say that not just as a candidate for governor, but as a father with 2 kids in public schools. The fact of exploding homelessness across our state, rising crime. And so what you are seeing is Californians who are ready to make that change at the top.
And he says the one-party rule in California has not helped the state. Last week, Republican and reality TV star Caitlyn Jenner announced she's running as well. Marine scientists say they found what they believe to be as many as 25,000 barrels that could contain the chemical DDT dumped off the Southern California coast near Catalina Island, where a large underwater toxic waste site dating back to World War II has long been suspected. The scientists found the barrels while conducting a survey of the area last month. They say they hope the discovery will prompt a cleanup of the site. Amazon is expanding one of its grocery delivery options.
Amazon will be making more deliveries right into people's garages. It's offering in-garage delivery to every city where it makes Amazon Fresh or Whole Foods grocery deliveries, 5,000 U.S. cities. Garage deliveries started in Chicago, Dallas, San Francisco, Seattle, and Los Angeles last year. Customers
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
George W. Bush may be retired from politics, but he's keeping busy with his new hobby of painting. Today, the Picasso-in-chief tweeted his latest picture, a turkey sandwich and glass of lemonade in front of the ghost of the Iraqi child that follows him everywhere. Rebecca Mera has been following the flourishing art career. He's pretty good, Rebecca.
Yeah, well, Rachel, Bush doesn't claim to be a great artist, but as he put it, not bad for an old man, huh?
Not bad at all. He says he likes painting simple things he sees in everyday life, like his dogs, that dead Iraqi child. You can see that Bush's art is improving over time. If you take a look, at first he could barely draw the Iraqi child's transparent hands, but now they look much more realistic.
Much more. You know, I'm not surprised that he's getting better. Bush practices constantly.
And Laura Bush says he's more focused than ever, locks himself away for hours at a time, and won't talk to anyone while he's painting.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if history will look back on Bush as a politician or the next Rembrandt. Up next, a study found that drinking red wine once a day can help the body get hammered.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line for you to call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. 603-283-6160. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria.
And Joa.
And I believe we're joined remotely by Mark. Mark, are you with us? If he answers in 5 seconds, I'm going to be kind of disappointed.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Is there a delay? I'm afraid there's a delay. There's definitely a delay. Well,
there is a delay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least I'm here and can work on it in between. Pressing that button that I was told to push did absolutely nothing. So that's fun. Stick with us, Mark. I will sort it out during a commercial break and see what I can do.
Push it again.
I did try to push it again, and it didn't have any effect whatsoever. So that's weird, but I can figure it out.
Just be extra careful.
Well, the worst thing that could happen is, there's plenty of worse things that could happen, but yes, just pushing a button is not going to cause any significant problems. So anyway, in my world today, I made a statement on Facebook earlier that seems to have upset some people, and I just want to take this opportunity since, I do host a nationally syndicated radio show to express my opinion on the subject. Transgender and transsexual can't possibly mean the same thing.
No.
Because if they do, then sex and gender are the same thing.
Clearly not.
Right. And there's this attitude on the left that transsexual is a deprecated term, that no one uses anymore. When I ran for sheriff, I called myself a transsexual because I believe that's the most accurate way of characterizing me. But they don't like that word. They want to move away from it into just using transgender, which suggests, if you can take the word transsexual and just throw it away and use the word transgender instead, then you're asserting that sex and gender mean the same thing. And I have an issue with that. Because gender, as, I would describe it, is a set of cultural and social norms, like women having long hair, men having beards, women preferring to wear dresses, men wearing trousers, that sort of thing. Whereas sex is a matter of biology. So a transgender person is someone who adopts the gender norms of the sex other than their own. Like a man who wants to wear dresses or whatever, and that's fine. Wants to go by she, that's fine. Have no issue with that. But once they undergo some sort of physiological or biological changes, like with hormone replacement therapy or sexual reassignment surgery, which, by the way, they want to rename gender affirmation surgery instead of.
Geez.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Well, I don't affirm that.
I think sexual reassignment surgery works just fine and is accurate. I don't see the need to change it to gender affirming, because you're not, by getting that surgery, you're not affirming their gender, you're changing their sex. And that's the point of view I come at it as. Gender and sex aren't the same thing. That has to be universally true if it's going to be true in any instance. So you can't just take it out and call it gender reassignment surgery or gender affirmation surgery. It's sexual reassignment surgery.
Right.
So the way I view
You're
things...
changing your parts is what you're saying. Okay.
And you don't have to have the surgery in order to do that. You could just undergo hormone therapy, because I further break down transsexuals into 3 subcategories of non-op, pre-op, and post-op.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the trans people that I'm familiar with don't like this terminology at all, even though, as far as I can tell, it's accurate. And I don't know what their issue is, other than the fact that they find transsexual to be offensive for some reason. That's silly. So that's what's happening in my world today. Well, actually,
you're saying it's stirring up on where?
This was on my Facebook.
On your Facebook.
Yeah.
Well, I can see why it could be stirring up, because it's Facebook.
Well, yeah, Facebook is a cesspool, right?
Yeah.
But to be fair, that's not really what's happening in my world. I was here earlier trying to work on issues, trying to get Mark set up remotely. And we do have him set up remotely, but as expected, he is still getting the delayed feed. Pretty sure I can fix that. I will again try to press that button, but it didn't do anything the first time. And I don't expect that to change. But I will figure it out, because that's what I do.
And so in my world, one of my good friends has been sentenced yesterday. And we can talk about that more later, maybe.
We can talk about it now. Sentenced.
Okay.
So what crime did the authorities accuse him of?
So he was sentenced to 12 years for retaliation and harassment against a judge. He likes to call it his hopes and prayers. You know, I'm not going to repeat what he said, because I don't want it to construe back on me. But, you know, he was basically hoping for some bad things and praying it happen soon type of thing. And if you use the hopes and prayers lingo, it shouldn't be considered a threat. Okay, they can call it harassment, but he's a public official. He doesn't directly know him. So I don't know how harassment charges are sticking, but it did. And
12 years for harassment?
Yes.
That doesn't... Special powers granted by those robes, man. No one else is going to get anyone 12 years in jail for harassment of any sort.
And from what I know, the judge, this is his very last sentencing. So he is a retired judge now.
Is the judge that he sent his hopes and prayers to the same one who sentenced him?
No, it's not. But
okay.
you know
well,
how they all in the same club.
Yeah, they are all, in fact, for sure, in the same club.
But this it was an incident involving a Denver judge in December 18th, 2018. And I believe he was wearing an ankle bracelet ever since, and also a second ankle bracelet for something else. If you guys didn't know, I haven't told you his name yet. It's Eric Brandt, and he has more case law written after him than anybody else. So he is a full-time activist. Unfortunately, he just bought a homestead, and he can no longer attend to it. And
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's sad, because he was, basically trying to get away from all this, but at the same time, he's been pushing it, and it's too bad. Like what benefit to society does this have, other than the butthurtness of some judges and other public officials are gonna be like, ha ha, we got Eric Brandt. I mean, no one else out there is like really should be offended by this, and they threw the book at him. And it's retaliatory because of all his other activism that he does. He's the one that coined the Cops Day. And so
I don't know what you're referring to.
Well, I don't want to say the word on the air because we don't have a dump button. But
we have a dump button, but I still don't want you to say the word on air.
No, I know. Happy
F the Cops Day.
Yeah, happy F the Cops Day.
And we can say that because I ran as sheriff on a campaign of F the police, and it was emblazoned everywhere and said on the show repeatedly. So,
thank you for your service.
Yeah, it was fun.
But yeah, he's been pushing the buttons for a long time, and this is what they're going to give him now.
12 years.
Yeah, 12 years.
Did anything prompt him to deliver his hopes and prayers to the judge?
I'm not really sure. Let me see.
Did he just pick a judge at random?
I think it had something to do with another case not involving him.
Okay.
Like, he does these calls. He calls, every time someone gets arrested in the First Amendment community or a First Amendment activist of sorts, he's going to call the police station. He's going to, broadcast it live on his channel, that type of thing. And this one incident, he called the judge and left some hopes and prayers for him. So,
and he got 12 years. He only
12
called the
years.
judge once.
Yes, I believe so. Yes.
And how could I don't understand how they could possibly get a conviction of harassment over one phone call.
Well, I think they were threatening the rest of his life in jail with it, and he pled guilty on April 1st.
Oh man, that's rough.
Yeah. So I mean, he would probably have done that too, because they just, they twist people's words, or they twist how they're charging them and that sort of thing, and that judges can get away with whatever they want.
Clearly, I mean, one phone call getting someone sentenced to 12 years for harassment is absolutely insane. What are your thoughts on this? Should judges be able to be protected from getting phone calls from concerned citizens? 603-283-6160 is the call-in line. Share your thoughts on it or talk about whatever's on your mind. 603-283-6160.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, 603-283-6160. With you in the studio tonight is Arya and Joa, joined via remote by Mark. Mark, are you with us?
Check, 1, 2. Can you hear me now?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I've got a little delay in my headphones, but I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Well, as expected, I was able to implement the solution that we talked about previously that, is not necessarily ideal, but it solves the problem of you having a 5-second delay. So
excellent.
There is that. You are kind of low. Let me give you a little bit more volume.
Let me turn myself up.
Okay. Well, yeah, that would be better. So, Mark.
Okay, check, 1, 2.
Good.
How are things in your part of the world?
Well, things are, nice. There's no spring like there is in your neck of the woods. Spring in New Hampshire means the daffodils, the tulips, the crocuses are coming up, and everything else is brown and dead.
It's beautiful here,
everything's
though.
alive.
I like seeing the growth, but yeah.
That's what everybody says who spends a long-ass winter up in New England, yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. I happen to like the New Hampshire springs, but...
Oh, I love them too.
So I've got a stupid story here that I want to get into. Intruders broke into the same Denny's twice in one night to make multiple meals for themselves. According to Fox News, I had to scroll down past the stupid crap they have here. It's never a good idea to go back for seconds. It's not uncommon for people to break into restaurants and help themselves to some food. Usually, however, the trespassers grab some food and then leave, since they probably don't want to get caught. 2 people in Indiana, however, apparently liked the eggs at Denny's so much that they returned for seconds after stealing the initial meal. 2 unidentified entered a Denny's restaurant in Indiana around 2 a.m. on Wednesday morning. According to the reports, the suspects did not appear to force their way into the building, and it seems that the door may have been left open. The 2 men allegedly went into the restaurant's kitchen and prepared some eggs for themselves. After eating the food...
It's a great source of protein.
I also like eggs.
I like the idea, though. Like, you just, walk in and start cooking for yourself.
I mean, if it wasn't stealing, I guess.
Yeah, if it wasn't stealing.
After eating the food, they then left the restaurant. Just before 3 a.m., however, the same men reportedly returned to the restaurant and started preparing another batch of eggs. According to a police...
Crank makes you hungry.
I wouldn't know, but presumably they were on something to go back to the same restaurant they had already robbed. According to a police report from the Evansville Police Department, a worker for Denny's arrived on the scene and confronted the egg-eating suspects. The 2 men left...
Denny's open?
What? I have no idea.
Yeah,
they serve breakfast. I thought most Denny's were 24 hours
I thought
anyway.
so too, yeah.
Evidently this one wasn't.
A lot of them. Clearly not this one.
Did they actually break in or they just walked in?
They just walked in. It seems that the door was left open.
I guess whose fault this is. I mean, I get it. They stole, but they have no eyes and ears on what's going on here?
Presumably not.
Okay.
It's very bizarre, very stupid story, and just something lighthearted that I wanted to get into before, we got into any of this heavier stuff. So you were talking about a friend of yours.
Yes.
Mark, I don't know if you were listening to the last segment.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any further on this?
Well, I read in the break what he had said. I'm not going to repeat it on air because I don't think it's appropriate.
It's probably a good idea not to.
But from what I told you, was that a threat? I mean, it may have been distasteful in many ways.
I can see how it was construed as a threat.
But the wording he's very literal. So he's very careful with his words. So when he says these things, it's not because he actually is intending to do them, but he's hoping and praying it does, type of thing. It's not, it's a free speech issue. And there's court rulings on hopes and prayers. So I believe that he used it as a defense and, they found him guilty, I guess, or they,
I can tell you this, Joa.
Yes.
When a longtime listener had been threatening my family for a very long time, said that he had bought a gun and he was ready to use it to put a bullet in the back of my head and spray my brains all over the street. The FBI thought, well, I don't really think that's a credible threat. But apparently, if something that can marginally be considered a threat is made against a judge, then it's definitely a threat.
Yeah, that's my take on it as well. I mean, that it's all because that judge had a robe, because he's a judge.
Mm-hmm.
Any other person, like Mark mentioned, he's had literal death threats aimed at him and his family.
I'm sorry that's happened to you.
And nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
And these were actual literal threats by a dangerously unhinged alcoholic lunatic.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing happened.
So I'm not saying, if something did happen, it's like now it's first degree murder. I mean, because he's already, and they'd probably charged with the threats as well. I mean,
sure,
I'm just saying.
But ideally, the role of the police, allegedly, is to prevent people who are making threats from being able to carry out those threats.
Yes. And
if something were to happen, the fact that he was additionally charged with having made threats in the past or a more serious murder charge isn't going to do the victim any favors.
Another interesting point of this is that during the sentencing yesterday, about 200 of the First Amendment activists were in the courtroom Zoom and to witness it. And not that they could say anything or do anything, but you can at least change your photo on the Zoom meeting. And they were also tracking down all the people rebroadcasting the sentencing, which never ended up airing on their channels because the judge somehow connected some law enforcement to get it all these streams pulled from YouTube before it could happen. And the judge was threatening everyone rebroadcasting with 30 days of their own county detention.
But it's a public hearing, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's so funny.
So all they were doing was making the public hearing public.
I have a feeling that some of these charges are going to come forth, and those who are rebroadcasting are going to get charged, if not arrested. I can see it happening, but then it's like another First Amendment issue.
For what crime?
Of rebroadcasting? I don't know.
Did they not get written permission from the NFL and ESPN or whatever?
It's contempt of court, Aria. I mean, they can say whatever is contempt is contempt.
Yeah, that's something that needs to be dealt with and addressed. I mean, the contempt of court nonsense, it's time for it to be retired forever. I assumed that there was some law somewhere on the books that gave, the judges the authority to declare something to be contempt of court, but there isn't.
Like if you wear jeans to court. Well, I'll tell you what, when I had court this last time on a Zoom meeting, I wore my suit and tie, but I was just in my underwear. Am I going to get contempt of court now?
Possibly. The thing about how you dress in court, at least in New Hampshire, I think, is that you can attend court in whatever your normal attire is. So one guy wanted to wear a cape here in, I believe it was Keene, and they wouldn't let him. So he spent a year just walking around town in a cape. And the next time he tried it, they let him because that was his normal attire.
Well, good for him.
603-283-60. That's the call-in line. You can talk about anything you want. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Car
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Karl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can talk about anything that's on your mind. 603-283-6160. And man, am I getting a headache trying to figure out a tech thing that's going on, because we're joined via remote by Mark, who is talking with us. And actually, yeah, here he is. No delay at all. But now I'm struggling to figure out something, and it's driving me insane. And it's made worse by the fact that I have like 4 minutes between each segment with which to troubleshoot and figure things out. And then it's right back into the show, and I've got to be prepared to talk about show stuff.
Yes, you're working very hard, and I needed some water, and that was butting into it too. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So anyway, other things happening in the world today. I got to find where I put those, though. The war seems to be escalating between the United States government and the government of Iran. Evidently, the U.S. Navy fired warning shots on 3 Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy patrol boats in the North Persian Gulf Tuesday after verbal warnings by U.S. forces were first ignored. Now, this isn't surprising behavior from the U.S. government. They're always firing warning shots, but didn't they fire warning shots in the Gulf of Tonkin that led to, I think, the Vietnam War?
Well, I don't believe those shots actually happened.
Yeah, I don't think they did either, but that was the issue, right?
They can make up anything nowadays. They say that they're doing something, but it's escalating.
So fast inshore attack craft were used to approach the USS Firebolt and the U.S. Coast Guard patrol boat USCGC Baranoff, at what naval officials called, quote, an unnecessarily close range with unknown intent. After warnings by the U.S. vessels through radio and loud hailer devices went ignored by the Iranian patrol boats, the USS Firebolt fired warning shots. God, Fox, you suck at this.
Why are the Iranians on our coast?
Well, they weren't.
Well, I got it backwards.
Yes, why was the United States government off Iran's coast?
Okay, now it makes even less sense.
The United States is off Saudi Arabia's coast, and Saudi Arabia is quite close to Iran. So we could certainly make the argument that the United States shouldn't be the mercenary for all these countries that are sitting in the Persian Gulf or whatever the situation is. But I do understand any boat captain's trepidation about having Iranian craft close to his when the United States assassinated their lead general just last year, or the year before.
Mark, can you turn your volume up a little bit more? You're still kind of low.
Sure.
A Navy official said U.S. forces used, quote, pre-planned responses to de-escalate the situation. De-escalating the situation by firing warning shots. I don't think they know what de-escalation means.
Yeah, it seems like it's escalating.
But they wanted to avoid collision and reduce risk of miscalculation. I sincerely doubt that the Iranian ships intended to collide with the U.S. government's ships. That's a suicide mission.
Yeah. I want to know why did Iran place their country right around all the United States bases?
It's very peculiar of them, isn't it? And how Russia did the same thing. They just put their country right in the middle of all of these missile silos pointed directly at them.
It's weird.
Very, very irresponsible of them. The IRGCN's actions increase the risk of miscalculation and or collision. We're not in accordance with the internationally recognized Convention on the International Regulations for Preventing Collisions at Sea. Quote, rules of the road. U.S. naval forces continue to remain vigilant and are trained to act in a professional manner, while our commanding officers retain the inherent right to act in self-defense. Now, it's vaguely reminiscent to me of what happened in the South China Sea recently, where I believe the Chinese government did exactly this to the United States ships that were encroaching on its territory, fired some warning shots at them. The warning shots fired Tuesday evening are just the latest confrontation between U.S. naval ships and Iranian Revolutionary Guard vessels. Earlier in the day, naval officials released images of these boats engaging with other Navy ships in the Persian Gulf in what security spokesmen described as unsafe and unprofessional maneuvers. The tense moments that occurred earlier this... Oh, of course the U.S. government would say that, right?
Right. Once they say it, it just sort of cements it all. I understand, like both sides in this situation, but it's true that if the Navy says, well, these were unsafe maneuvers, that suddenly all the Americans believe it. And I, tend to believe it too.
Unsafe for who?
This is just sort of how the narrative is controlled. Of course, the media immediately parrots all of it, and there we are. Looks like we're really close to war with Iran.
This isn't unusual, though. This just happens like every, president.
It is, and the United States government and their allies have been wanting war with Iran for pretty much as long as I can remember.
Got to get those resources.
And
let me ask you this, though, Arya. What do you think about Iran's position? I mean, they know they can't win. So is it just that they're not doing anything to antagonize, or do they feel this sort of need to say we're a country, we're a big important country, and sort of make her kerfuffle? I have no idea. I mean, none of us really know if Iran has done anything.
You're up too loud now, and now you're clipping. By the way, Iran hasn't invaded another country since the 18th century. First of all,
but it's certainly funded terrorism, according to the United States government.
Well, the United States government has also funded plenty of terrorism.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
It just won't admit it, and it doesn't call it terrorism when it's the one funding it. However, you're correct. Iran could not possibly win an armed conflict with the United States. However, just because you're going to lose a battle to an immoral enemy doesn't mean you shouldn't stand up and fight anyway.
It may mean that, yeah. Especially when you're talking about other people's lives. It's not like the Ayatollah and the president of Iran are going to grab knives and shields and challenge Kamala and Joe to a battle in an arena in Istanbul.
Which is unfortunate because I would pay to see that.
Other people's families to die.
Yes, and so is the United States government, and I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of any of that. I was speaking more.
I'm not a fan of any of that either.
And there's really not a whole lot we can do to prevent it. I mean, states are going to do what states do, and the primary thing that states do is war. But the United States government...
Well, I can tell you this, Arya. Here's something you can do. As a libertarian, you can move the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands or Puerto Rico or one of these other places. What I can tell you about the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, the U.S. Marianas, as I call them, I moved there in January of last year. My taxes currently do not go to pay for war or the death penalty. The government I pay doesn't kill people.
That's wonderful, Mark. However, at the present, I cannot just move to the Marianas Islands.
Nope. But I'm just letting you know.
Maybe in the future.
These are options.
And that would be great, right? I mean, I was planning on visiting the Mariana Islands last September, I believe. But, then COVID happened and it became impossible. But yes, sounds like an interesting place. And I would prefer to have my money not going to pay for the bombs and the destruction of countries that honestly can't stand a chance against the military might that the United States government can throw at them. And that Iran certainly qualifies. That's why they want the nuclear weapon so badly, assuming they do actually want the nuclear weapon. It's because the United States doesn't invade countries that have nuclear weapons.
Right. So whenever they have that teetering effect of, do they have one? Do they not? Is when they're testing those waters, and maybe Iran will reveal something so that the United States will stop.
What are your thoughts on this? Who's right? Who's wrong? 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
It's the Onion Radio News. A crazy man announces plans to stand in a doorway and yell at cars. This is Doyle Redland reporting. Dennis Fife, an Alhambra, California crazy man, held a press conference today to announce his intention to stand in the doorway of the office building at 2600 Kenilworth Avenue and yell at cars all day.
At approximately 9:30 a.m. on the day in question, shortly after I finish lunging at dogs, I will proceed to the front steps of the Simmons building and yell loudly for 9 hours. The screaming will be broken by a 15-minute fit of rigid catatonia, most likely in the late afternoon.
Among the topics Fife plans to address during his 9-hour rant: the ace of diamonds, bookshelves, the man trying to kill him, plastic bags in trees, Trapper John M.D., and papers everywhere. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
There are basically 2 types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, and if I'm correct, I'm going to say the word cat, and it's not going to get out on the air. I'm almost positive that's the case, but I absolutely have to check it because it would be irresponsible not to. Last time we didn't check it, and because of that, Bonnie's sister said a word that did not need to go out on national radio, and it did. So we've checked that now, and I've looked into the back end of things. I'm 100% positive, but that's not good enough these days. So with you in the studio tonight, it's Aria.
And Joa.
And we're joined remotely.
And Mark.
Yes.
Oh, Mark, too.
Via remote. That's why I say in the studio. It's just force of habit. I'm going to have to change that if Mark's going to be remotely co-hosting the show.
I am in a studio.
But not the studio. You are, in fact, in
I'll take
a
your word
studio.
for it.
Sounds like you're in here.
It does. The audio quality is shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, you sound clearer in my headphones than I sound in my headphones, for whatever that's worth.
Well, thank the Lord Protector Comrex.
Yes.
With this great little modem.
Comrexes, I mean, prior to, I'm not a radio person, right? I'm a writer. That's what I've always done. And then I started doing a podcast in my spare time. Next thing I know, I'm on Call to Freedom. Long story short, I end up in New Hampshire doing Free Talk Live. And being a tech person, I was the most obvious candidate to be trained to handle this stuff in the event that something happened to Ian. I'm still not 100% sure what the hell a Comrex is or what it does, other than the
Comrex
fact
is
that
a company.
I know that, but the Comrex
The device
access,
they make is an access.
yes. I'm not 100% sure exactly what it does beyond sending audio to a place and receiving audio from a place. And I have no idea why that's even necessary when there are...
I'll tell you. I understand this a little bit. You remember the old AOL
yes.
noise?
Yes.
That's two modems talking to each other, right?
Right.
That's all that the access is a very specialized modem that compresses and plays with audio to the point that it makes it perfect as it can be. And it just talks to my Comrex access talks to your Comrex access, and then we have these great audio.
It's a very confusing setup, especially here in the studio, especially for someone who's just sort of thrown into this with only a bare minimum amount of knowledge that it takes to handle this sort of thing. Like, Mark is connected to one access, we're using another to connect to Westwood One, and one interface right up here behind me displays the connections to both Comrexes. So when I looked up and I saw that it was connected to Westwood One and that Mark was connected to it, I began being concerned that we weren't sending the delayed feed to Westwood One. But I verified very quickly that they were different. I mean, it's all just tech talk that listeners probably don't care about. Or maybe they do because, the studio was recently prohibited from doing its thing. Not prohibited.
Attacked by terrorists.
Let's just be 100% clear. The studio was torn apart by knuckle-dragging FBI agents who clearly had some kind of vendetta. Otherwise, there would be no point in pulling a bunch of wires out of the back of a broadcast stack.
I don't think
know
they
if
knew
they
what it
intentionally
was.
took off a nationally syndicated radio program that gives people the ability to call in and talk about what they want, and thus affecting the First Amendment rights of 500,000 weekly listeners. But that's what they did.
See, I don't think it was that nefarious. And I say this as one of the people
I don't
who-
care whether
who
it's
was hit.
nefarious or not. If you violate someone's First Amendment rights
Mark,
by
turn down.
accident, you've still violated them.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know why they were pulling the wires out of the back. Maybe they thought Bitcoins would fall out.
You're clipping again. I need you to turn down. I forget you regularly get pretty animated. But I feel...
jerk.
I know why they did it. I mean, they did the same thing at my house, right? It's just standard practice for them when they raid a place to take out the internet and to take out the cameras. Well, I don't put
The
enough
broadcast
faith...
stack doesn't have anything to do with cameras.
Yes, but I don't put enough faith in them for them to know that.
Well, I don't care if they did it by accident. I can tell you that they went after 500,000 people's First Amendment rights. And I intend to file a lawsuit if I can find a lawyer that'll take it.
Well, I wish you the best in finding that in finding that attorney. I mean, there's surely an attorney out there who will take it.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you get an attorney to sue McDonald's over hot coffee. Surely you can find an attorney to sue the FBI over, at least temporarily taking down a nationally syndicated talk show.
Well, I'd like to think so, but I haven't been able to find one. I haven't really. Most of my focus has been getting the Crypto 6 out of jail.
Sure.
And making sure they had attorneys and those sorts of things. So I really haven't had a lot of time to focus on that. But something interesting happened recently. And I've been told, and I don't know if that this is 100% fact because I don't know for sure, but I've been told that there's a subpoena out for me. And if that's the case, then I testify in front of a grand jury. And if I testify in front of a grand jury, I can ask for a true bill of the lead investigator on this, and maybe we can get this sidetracked and ready to go.
I don't know what any of that means, Mark. And it's
True bill is an indictment.
The interesting, the other day I saw a Massachusetts plates Ford, I forget what vehicle it is, but Ford sedan. It's been going around, I guess, been following people, and I requested that detective. I think it's a detective. I requested the name and badge number of that officer at the Keene PD. That's where he was parked. And so I'll find out soon who's been doing the investigating. It's my assumptions are correct.
You think that Keene PD's been investigating people?
I think no. I think they're communicating between them, but I don't. I would say it's the feds doing it. I think it's a federal officer. So we're gonna find out who he is or she, and we can go from there.
I mean, I'm just assuming at this point that I'm being followed and monitored and carefully watched because realistically, I probably am. I see no reason to believe that I'm not. I mean, they certainly are monitoring my internet usage at home. I would be stunned to find out they didn't put in some sort of software that allows them to monitor all incoming and outgoing traffic.
Sure.
While they had free access to it.
How would a VPN work for that?
I don't know. I don't have permission from my supervisory officer to use a VPN. And I imagine that permission would not be forthcoming. Not unless I had some...
I understand that. I'm just wondering if it would work in that circumstance.
Presumably, it would encrypt the traffic to the VPN server on the other end, but before it could even... I don't know is the answer to that. I'm just assuming that my modem is being monitored. I don't know the details. Yeah, I don't know the details of the software they use to do that and what sort of weaknesses it may or may not have. And honestly, I have no desire to bypass it, even if such a thing was possible, because it's just not worth it.
I think they would use hardware. The people that came through in the studio and that sort of thing do not appear to be capable of programming any particular device with software.
I would tend to agree because they took my Nintendo Wii U and I cannot for the life of me figure out why. They took my Wii U, but they left my Nintendo Switch. And both of them...
It's not called Dance Dance Revolution for nothing.
I didn't have Dance Dance Revolution. I assure you of that. But
you could have.
And I suspect...
You could go out and buy it later. That's what they said about Ian buying a world passport, which is a novelty off the internet.
I think the reason they did this was because my Wii U was connected to the capture card in my studio PC so that we could record the gameplay and upload it later. But
clearly that's a huge
still
threat.
Stupid. I don't think they knew what a capture card was, and I think it confused them when they saw a Nintendo Wii U connected to a computer. That's
it's so silly.
I guess they've never heard of Twitch.
I guess not. I don't know. I can't fathom any other reason that they did it. They left my gaming PC totally fine. It was sitting upstairs in my bedroom when I got home. And I think the reason for that was because it was disassembled at the time of the raid. Incidentally, because I took the graphics, the capture card out of it to put in the studio PC. And because I'm never in my bedroom, I just never bothered to put it back together.
Right.
So presumably they weren't allowed to take things that were, retired or disassembled or whatever. I have no idea because I still haven't seen the attachments that were part of the warrant. It just said, hey, we're allowed to search you, but we're not going to tell you what we're looking for or why. I don't get that until sometime this week when the allegedly 60,000 plus pages of discovery are released.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
6 weeks later. You finally get to see the warrant that allowed the people come into your house.
Yeah. 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can talk about anything you want. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
No mask for the fully vaccinated. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. That's the new guidance for some outdoor activities from the CDC. But Director Rochelle Walensky says when you are in a large group of people, like an outdoor concert, you should still wear one. And she says vaccinated people should continue to wear masks indoors in public places.
We know that the virus spreads very well indoors. Until more people are vaccinated, and while we still have more than 50,000 cases a day, mask use indoors will provide extra protection.
More than half of adults in the U.S. have had at least one dose of vaccine. Tennessee Republican Governor Bill Lee says he's ready to end some coronavirus restrictions.
We're not going to require anymore that you have limits on gatherings, that you wear a mask. We want to have conventions and concerts and proms and parades. It's time for us to get back to life and get back to business.
Louisiana Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards is partially lifting his state's mask mandate, making face coverings necessary only in hospitals, schools, clinics, and other specific locations. The FBI is now conducting a civil rights investigation into the shooting death of Andrew Brown Jr. by police in Elizabeth City, North Carolina.
It will be run out of the FBI's Charlotte field office. They issued a statement saying, quote, agents will work closely with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of North Carolina in the Civil Rights Division at the Department of Justice to determine whether federal laws were violated. Now, we should point out this probe does not replace the ongoing investigation by the NCSBI here. At a press conference, the Brown family, along with their attorneys, held a press conference to release findings of an independent autopsy report, which showed Brown shot 5 times, the fatal shot being one to the back of the head.
Fox's Griff Jenkins. America is listening to Fox News.
Did you know that Cleopatra dated 3 different emperors? You would if you watched the series Women Who Made History on Curiosity Stream. Launched by the creator of Discovery Channel, Curiosity Stream is the opposite of mindless TV. This is nonfiction entertainment created by award-winning filmmakers, available on any device. Satisfy your curiosity for less than $2 a month at curiositystream.com/Fox. That's curiositystream.com/Fox.
Help is beginning to arrive in India, which is dealing with exploding numbers of COVID-19.
Shipments of medical supplies from overseas are arriving in India. The United States has promised American support.
What we need immediately is escalation in oxygen supplies, escalation in ventilators.
Lance Pinto, who works at a hospital in Mumbai, says India was not prepared for the current surge in coronavirus infections.
I think all of us got a little complacent based on the fact that the numbers reduced to such low levels in the month of January that we thought that the worst was behind us.
For a 5th day running, Indian authorities have recorded more than 300,000 new cases. In London, Simon Owen, Fox News.
Amazon has started vaccinating thousands of its warehouse and delivery workers, contractors, and their families. Critics have said the company didn't protect its workers enough at the height of the pandemic. A tech company joining the fight against vaccine hesitancy.
Online sharing video platform YouTube, owned by Google, is launching a series of COVID-19 vaccine public service announcements. encouraging people to get back what they love by getting the vaccine, reminding them of family visits, birthday parties, weddings, and nightlife. The ads produced in conjunction with the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine's Vaccine Confidence Project. It rolls out in the U.S. first, then to other countries coinciding with vaccine availability. Lillian Wu, Fox News.
DoorDash will begin offering lower price delivery options.
The Shire Free Church offers a sanctuary to those seeking an escape from state churches.
The Shire Free Church is an interfaith, diverse group of people that may not share identical theological beliefs. As a member in or minister of the Shire Free Church, you are a sovereign individual and may be the faith of your choice.
We don't claim to have all of the answers.
We are open to all peaceful people.
We want to learn from each other.
What unifies the Shire Free Church and its diverse members is peace,
love, and liberty. There are many paths to God, one for every individual.
The Shire Free Church does not define a specific path beyond those parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way,
love as your guide,
and liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com.
It's the Onion Radio News. The nation's last remaining themeless restaurant has closed. This is Doyle Redland reporting. A once vibrant era came to an end today when Pat's Place, the nation's last themeless restaurant, closed its doors in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. During the heyday of themeless restaurants, Pat's Place achieved a certain amount of notoriety for its unique non-themed food items and unadorned atmosphere. But according to owner Patrick Baines, the times have changed.
Lately, we've had only a handful of people coming in to gawk at our posterless walls and mundanely named menu items like hamburgers or pancakes, and then they go someplace like the Rainforest Cafe or Johnny Rockets to actually eat.
Plans are now in the works to convert the Pat's Place location into Cedar Rapids' 7th Patty-O Touchdown sports bar and good time internet grill. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can talk about whatever you want. 603-283-6160. Lots happening here at Free Talk Live, making lots of changes to things that weren't necessary prior to March the 16th. And that's because on March the 16th, government agencies conspired together and raided the Free Talk Live studio, as well as the Bitcoin Embassy, my home, the home of Andy and Renee Spinella and Colleen Fordham, a 60-year-old grandmother. We were then arrested and taken into custody, and Ian Freeman and nobody remain in custody, although Ian's appeal for his bail hearing is taking place Monday, May the 3rd, so we're hoping he is going to be set free then. Check out thecrypto6.com. Additionally, there's Bonnie today created a GoFundMe for me with attorney-approved text and everything.
Oh, fantastic.
But I don't have an easily accessible link for that yet. I'm trying to get permission from my supervisory officer to forward help.ariademezzo.com to the GoFundMe page, but I have to have permission to use GoDaddy, and it's a mess. And it's a mess because this whole thing is very complicated. The case is going to set precedent that could affect cryptocurrency for decades to come. You can help us. Check it out, thecrypto6.com. That's the best source for you to do that. There's a PayPal link from Mark as well as some other stuff there. Thecrypto6.com, or even free thecrypto6.com.
If you were to search on GoFundMe, FBI targets trans activist Aria DeMezzo, you'll find the donation spot.
You can certainly do that. However, I think that help.ariademezzo.com is a much easier URL to give people. And hopefully we can get, that's not working right now, right?
Right.
But hopefully we can get, the link to the GoFundMe put on thecrypto6.com. There will also be the Crypto 6 GoFundMe, but it's for strategic reasons that Bonnie and I chose to have one separate for me. So anyway, that's what's happening in the world.
Aria, to put a finer point on it, Ian's hearing is a de novo bail hearing, meaning it is not appealing things that occurred previously. It is all that stuff's nullified, and this new hearing is all brand new.
Okay, I don't understand then.
Okay.
So
it's not an appeal.
Okay, but he has
Appeals appeal specific things that happened. So if Ian was denied due process in some fashion because of a thing, then you can appeal that thing that occurred and then perhaps have that undone and then remand it back and these kind of things. However, in this case, this is just a brand new bail hearing.
Okay, so if he's denied bail, he will have to appeal this one as well?
I suppose.
Jesus. The legal world is complicated. And it gets more complicated.
This is better.
Okay, well, that's good at least. It gets more complicated because library is also being targeted by the federal government. Dave Ridley is joining us to talk about that. Dave, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi, guys. Also known as Dave in New Hampshire. Geography matters now. Have you guys reported on they have set up a website, a new website called helplibrarysavecrypto.com. Have you reported about that?
I have heard of it.
Yeah, I just a couple days ago, but it's helplibrarysavecrypto.com. And what they are trying to do, I think they're making the case, just like with your case, they're making the case that that if they lose, then that would have a significant negative effect on the United States cryptocurrency industry.
Well, they're not wrong. I mean, library
Pardon?
They're not wrong. Library is basically nothing more than a content sharing platform that is decentralized and that has a cryptocurrency to support the blockchain that keeps library going.
It keeps a record of what things that are happening there, and if you want to cash out on your library tokens, you can.
And I believe they're being charged with selling securities or some nonsense like that.
Well, why don't I read directly from their website and what they're saying?
Absolutely.
It says the SEC is advancing an aggressive and disastrous new standard that would make almost all blockchain token securities. Classifying all actively developed blockchain tokens as securities will be a bureaucratic nightmare for the United States residents and businesses operating in the United States. Under this new standard, almost any token is a security, including the previously safe Ethereum. The nature of technology is that it is never finished. This change will make it much harder for startups to form new blockchain companies, cause massive job loss, and stunt the development of a critical new technology. All the while, big tech and Wall Street prosper. Good timing, too. I've noticed that all this went down because now you got Coinbase on the market, on the stock market, and even I was going to bring up an article today.
You got the ones that, played by the government's rules, that bent over backwards to be part of regulatory bodies that created the rules that the government was going to impose on cryptocurrency. Coinbase was at the head of creating this cartel of cryptocurrency companies that would define the rules regulating cryptocurrency. So the ones playing ball are the ones who are not being targeted. The ones bending over backward to make sure that the government can control cryptocurrency are the ones being left alone. While the ones who are like, hey, we want to be decentralized, and what you're doing over there with your government doesn't actually have anything to do with us because this isn't what we're doing, are being targeted. Are you still with us, Dave?
I like to say, what's the saying? China has banned Bitcoin. What is it now? 40 times, 1,000 times, many, many times they've banned Bitcoin, and it never seems to work. So it's going to be the same way with the Feds. They're going to try to come after something that doesn't have a head you can chop off. That's not going to work.
No,
well,
it won't.
Library's got a team of developers right here on the front, and that's some heads.
Well, yeah, they can come out. They can do things. But they can't. They will always. The cryptocurrency will be like water. It will flow around them and will push right past them to where it needs to go.
Yeah, unfortunately, they will chop off a lot of heads in the process.
Yeah.
Well, I just reached out to Jeremy Kaufman here, who's the CEO of Library, and I sent him an email that said to get a hold of me, I'm going to try to run some 30-second ads to promote their situation.
That's fantastic.
Hopefully we can get those. Library is certainly a useful tool. I've been using it probably for the better part of 3 or 4 years now.
Wow.
Probably close to as long as Library has existed. Of course, haven't used it since March the 16th, but I've always found it to be a valuable tool.
I just started using it recently, and I find it very, very useful. And it's, securing my videos, unlike YouTube likes to pull them.
Dave, thank you so much for tonight for the call. YouTube does like to pull videos. The Shire.
And that's why Library is great.
It is. The Shire Society YouTube channel got hit with several strikes or something like that because of some line from someone that was in I don't know what happened with that particular channel, but it got hit for stupid reasons. And of course, Free Talk Live is currently not even broadcasting to the Free Talk Live channel on YouTube due to content strikes. And the ban expires tomorrow, but I think it would be unwise to go back to streaming YouTube until at least one of the other strikes has come off.
Sure.
Because third strike, permanent deletion.
How long does it take for it to come off?
I will check during the break. I don't recall. It's not as terribly long as you would expect. I think it was like 90 days maybe. But until then, we are streaming to my YouTube channel. So we are still making it out there on YouTube. Of course, I have not set it up so that these are going to Library. But someone who wants to do that could certainly do that.
Well, thank you for your service.
Please do that.
Yeah, I would.
Aria can't.
Yeah, I can't, but it certainly needs to happen.
I like to segue something that we were just talking about Coinbase and that sort of thing. And let me read the title here. JP Morgan could make its first Bitcoin fund available to private rich clients as soon as the summer, report says.
Let's talk about that, because they've been trashing Bitcoin and declaring it to be dead for a very long time. 603-283-6160. Call in and talk about whatever's on your mind. 603-283-6160.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can talk about anything you want. 603-283-6160. With you tonight, it's Aria.
And Joa.
And Mark.
And Mark from parts elsewhere. Mark, you are correct. There is a delay in the connection, about 200 milliseconds. I'm not sure what's causing it, but I strongly doubt that it's on our end.
Is that 0.2 of a second?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not unbearable. We can certainly have a conversation, but it's something to be addressed in the future. I mean, it's not urgent right now. Just making you aware that there is, in fact, a delay.
Okay.
And that's unfortunate. But let's go to the phones. We've got Pat calling from Michigan. Pat, you are on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, I reckon Obama left you a virus there in your gizmo. Anyway, so we should talk about, right now, I guess, if you beat me time, I'll talk on two subjects, but China and Russia are both hoarding gold, buying it as fast as their big old lunch buckets will hold. And
Can't say I blame them.
Well, no, my anticipation on this is that they are anticipating the collapse of the petrodollar, that we have had no gold standing behind us since the Nixon administration.
That's correct.
I remember silver certificates when I was a kid. The paper, blue dollar bills. You could take them to the bank and trade them in for an ounce of silver.
It's frustrating that so many people still seem to think that the U.S. dollar is backed by something other than the quote, good faith and credit of the federal government.
Fiat is not an Italian car, my son. I hate to say it, but it's the way it is. And lead is a precious metal. And have you heard about the John Kerry scary story here that's going on?
I've heard
he
nothing.
Sold out. Did you bleep me?
No.
Okay, I thought I just heard myself dump. Yeah, John Kerry here has been hemmed up, and he's not even an elected official. He's an appointed administrative, what we would call the deep state. I called and I talked to you guys last night, and we was talking about Eisenhower's exit speech, where he told you to be wary of the giant military state.
Yeah.
Well, he hadn't properly defined it because it hadn't been properly defined. It is the deep state. And if we don't I don't know, man. I don't even know how to pull us out of this bucket of hell here. But Joe, not China Joe, but Jim Carrey, he has been in cahoots with the Iranians and informing them of over 200 Israeli missions, secretive missions, where they were trying to infiltrate and keep the peace, basically, because Israel ain't nothing but a heel and a pain in the heel of the world as far as the Middle East is concerned.
I didn't mean to put you on hold. My finger slipped because I was trying to click something else.
Christ, and it cannot be.
Run that by me one more time. I accidentally put you on hold.
You what?
Can you repeat what you just said? I accidentally put you on hold.
Well, I don't know where you lost me, but Israel is the cradle of civilization, the birthplace of Christ. And as near as I can see, it's the only thing holding us together is religion. If we don't have some kind of base of morality, we cannot survive. We're not jackals.
I get my morality from empathy. I don't need someone to tell me right from wrong because I can tell that for myself.
Well, we all can, man. It's not like I go to. I'm an old Catholic. I'm a retired Catholic. I haven't been to church maybe 5 times in 30 years. All right, but I can still hold on to my morality because I know that God exists. I spent 2 weeks on my knees when I was about 55. I had carpal tunnel in my wrist, and it was getting cold, and I couldn't even hold a coffee cup, much less a chainsaw. And I was fixing to die if I didn't be able to get my poop in a group. And he saved me. I haven't had no problem, and I'm left-handed. I haven't had no problem in my left wrist for 10 years now.
I mean, that's a cool story, but I still don't understand what it has to do with morality.
Morality? Oh, good God. How do I explain the science of the world? We all know what is right. We all know
So
what is wrong.
So why do we need a religion to tell us if we all know what is right and what is wrong?
But we need a binding substance. It's like having eggs to make quiche, man. You got to have something to hold it together.
Well, religion doesn't have a very good track record of doing that. It's been pretty divisive.
Does the non-aggression principle count?
As a religion?
That's because it's controlled by men. It's controlled by men, and we are all flawed.
I don't disagree with that.
The non-aggression principle simply says that it is unacceptable to use violence against your neighbor if they haven't used violence against you or stolen from you or whatever.
Sure. I would say that is a barest, minimalist baseline for a moral code.
You don't touch the hot stove. What if you do? You learned, and that's how it goes. Like, we can learn about morality as you grow. You don't need a religion or some, entity beyond this world to tell you what's right and wrong.
That's certainly how I view it, Mark, as a place to start. I think people trying to hold up the non-aggression principle as some sort of end-all, be-all of morality, that something isn't wrong if it doesn't, initiate aggression, is misguided at best and harmful at worst. I think that we need more than just, hey, don't hit people, because technically, if you see someone about to get hit with the car, it doesn't violate the non-aggression principle for you to just stand there and allow that to happen. But it's still morally wrong.
You can watch a person drop their wallet out of their back pocket and say nothing about that.
Yeah.
And to me, I would experience that as an immoral act.
I would agree.
However, it does not violate the non-aggression principle.
Right. And I think too many libertarians lose sight of that, and they start saying things like, well, it doesn't violate the NAP. Well, that's not really the issue here. If your entire moral code is just don't initiate aggression, then you don't have a moral code. You have a bare minimum of behavior not to be a freaking animal.
Yeah.
I think humans are better than that.
And we have a backbone which determines what's right and wrong. I hope you have a backbone, or you have to grow one.
You mean metaphorically, right?
Yes, metaphorically.
So, yeah, I certainly don't think we need this sort of morality by decree, which is that, people think we get morality from religions or whatever, but it's the other way around. As Pat pointed out, these religions are man-made. So how could we get something from them that we did not ourselves create?
Well, there's a lot of good stories in what they tell in their religion, and some people adopt them.
And some of them are absolutely horrific.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd like to say one last thing is that
I don't know that we have time for it. 603-283-6160. You can call in, change the subject, or continue on this discussion about morality and religion. 603-283-6160.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Because we are smothering in spam, please do not reply to all when you can instead reply. I was recently among over 100 invited to a corporate reunion. It's always a warm affair, and that's the problem. Enthusiasm for our upcoming get-together caused many recipients to RSVP the organizer with a cheery reply to all. I can't wait. Then others piled on with a reply to all to that. Then the "I'm out of my office now" autoresponders joined in. So I replied to all, asking that we all reply only to the organizer. Hey, at least I tried. One invitee, apparently retired, shot back, "Point taken, but I really like seeing the responses since they're so positive." Smiley face. This better be an open bar. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You're welcome to call in, talk about whatever you want, 603-283-6160. And it's coming up sooner than you think, June the 28th through July the 4th. It's Fork Fest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. I can't wait to be there. It's an awesome gathering of libertarians and anarchists. All of them are doing their own thing, and it works together, and no one's in charge, and it's peaceful, and it's remarkably clean because libertarians respect the owner of the property and pick up behind themselves. It's very different from what you see at other camping events. You know, we don't leave trash laying around and stuff like that. And people, sometimes they throw poker games. Last year there was a concert. There won't be one this year because I'm busy with other stuff. But it's an awesome event. There'll still be stuff happening. You got to come up and check it out. June the 28th through July the 4th at Rogers Campground. Hope to see you there. I'm certainly going to be there. Unless Ian is there, in which case I wouldn't be allowed to be there. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I would be allowed to be there or not. It wouldn't be worth the risk, really. But hopefully we'll find out on May the 3rd.
I've never seen such a concentration of peaceful people enjoying life, celebrating life.
Yeah, and that's all it is.
Yep.
So anyway, we were talking about, Joey, you alluded to it, J.P. Morgan getting into Bitcoin.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Despite the fact that they have spent the last several years talking about how dead Bitcoin is.
This is why I really wanted to bring this up, because it's so funny. They were trashing it for so many years. And now...
Isn't Jamie Dimon the CEO of JP Morgan?
He is, and this is his he's signing off on this, right? So JP Morgan is preparing to roll out its first Bitcoin fund for wealthy clients, according to CoinDesk. The fund, set to launch this summer, is said to be actively managed one. The bank recently said liquidity in the Bitcoin market should recover quickly after its price drop. And so JP Morgan is in the process of offering an actively managed Bitcoin fund to its private wealth clients. Why can't they do it?
Well, I can tell you this,
everybody?
that if I heard advice about Bitcoin from JP Morgan, I would be terrified to follow that advice.
Yes, but the normies out there will follow that advice.
Yeah.
It's worth keeping an eye on. But one thing is that Bitcoin was intended to be this. It wasn't supposed to be an end run around banks. It wasn't supposed to be a way for poor people to bank without banks. It was supposed to be a technology that would, in fact, destroy banks.
Yes,
to
that's
destroy
why
organizations
I support it.
like JP Morgan. And now those organizations are getting into Bitcoin. And I don't even know how to look at the world when this sort of stuff is happening. Everything I imagined is not occurring. Everything Satoshi Nakamoto imagined is not occurring.
That's depressing, Mark.
You should hear what Jamie had to say here. Jamie Dimon said in 2018 interview, he doesn't really give a, I didn't say it, about the digital asset and didn't expect it to rival fiat currency. More recently, he listed fintechs as one of the enormous
It is an insult
competitive
to Bitcoin to describe it as a rival to fiat currency.
Yes, but she's coming from JP Morgan. But they're saying it's an enormous competitive threat to the banks.
It is. It was designed to be. It was literally the banks and the 2007 recession that they created that caused Satoshi Nakamoto to go ahead and create Bitcoin. It was designed to destroy the banks. That was the goal from the beginning. As Satoshi stated repeatedly in the early newsletters. This was always about destroying the banks, not allowing the banks to incorporate themselves into this new system. And that's why people like Coinbase and Kraken and all of these others are the devil every bit as much as the banks are, because they don't want to just replace the banks. What they do, they want to become
They just want
the
control
banks.
of the money.
They want to become the banks of cryptocurrency.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to do.
And they're proving to be very successful at that.
One of JP Morgan's strategists said Bitcoin liquidity is likely to remain robust and resilient. Depth on major exchanges has continued to drop less and recover faster than other asset classes. Oh, they're finally catching on.
I don't know what Bitcoin is doing these days. I obviously don't pay much attention to it because I can't access my wallet, so it's largely meaningless to me anyway. But the last I heard,
55,000.
The last I heard, there was a bit of a crash. Yeah, I heard it hit 60,000 or somewhere. And now it's it's back down to 55,000. What a tragedy!
It's hilarious.
But it's only going to go up, and I imagine something like this is only going to drive up interest in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. I don't have much issue with it in that regard, although it doesn't really benefit me at the moment. I still think it would be a good thing for the masses to get involved in cryptocurrency. And if it takes an evil, heartless, devilish organization like a bank to get them into cryptocurrency, I think that's okay in the long run, as long as Bitcoin is able to do the job that it was created to do, which is to destroy the evil banking system that caused the 2007
I think that Bitcoin
recession.
and its value as far as getting people into crypto is highly mitigable. It's like the value of being able to ride a bike versus ride a motorcycle. I just don't think it's the same. Bitcoin is, as far as I'm concerned, was co-opted somewhere around 2015 by Blockstream, which I believe to be some kind of U.S. government plot to destroy Bitcoin. And now it is simply an asset class. And the rest of the cryptos out there are doing whatever they're doing, but I don't think Bitcoin's the same thing.
Yeah, I would agree tentatively with parts of that. I would say, I don't know if it's an asset class or not, but it is certainly not usable in the real world as money.
Well, one day I'll buy a Lambo.
They say that the new Lightning Network allows people, if you have the right wallets, that you can
if you have the
use
right
it cheaply,
wallet
but I don't know.
and hours to spend messing around with the Lightning Network. I've used the Lightning Network. It's horrible. It's not intuitive. Look, we're talking about people. We want Bitcoin to be mainstream, which means we want someone's 60-year-old grandmother to be able to just send some Bitcoin to her grandchild or whatever. I can't imagine trying. I had difficulty using the Lightning Network. I can't imagine a regular person out there attempting to use it. It's so unwieldy and counterintuitive and unhelpful. It may solve some problems, but it creates so many others. And then you have things like Bitcoin Cash and Monero and Zcash and Zencash and Horizon that don't need these obtrusive, non-intuitive workarounds in order to function usefully. To say nothing of, Bitcoin Cash.
Well, not for nothing. They all have their vulnerabilities, and you should always try to make sure those securities are in place before you use any crypto.
Well, I mean,
Well, I can tell you from an investment standpoint, Arya, nobody's interested in second-generation cryptos anymore.
Really? I can't say I blame them after everything that we've seen with,
except for Ethereum.
Don't get me started on Ethereum. I wish it had died back in whenever it was that Ethereum Classic was created. Because I'm a supporter of Ethereum Classic. As soon as Ethereum was like, oh no, too many people lost too much money, we're gonna roll back the entire blockchain and retcon what was done. That's when Ethereum became unusable in my eyes. Because if something happens that they don't like, they'll just roll back the blockchain. And I think in order for cryptocurrency to work, we have to be able to trust it and trust transactions made on it as being immutable and permanent. And on Ethereum, they're not.
So
and they proved that.
Someone's behind a desk fixing the system, is what you're saying?
Essentially. I mean, there was a large hack of a lot of Ethereum tokens, and Ethereum was like, okay, well, it was allowed by the code, so therefore it's okay, right? And there was a lot of public... No,
it's not okay.
No, it absolutely is okay. I mean, it's not moral, but it has to have proceeded according to that. Instead, they undid the hack and just... The code became untrustable at that point. I can't trust Ethereum.
And then the hacker sued him.
Did they? I didn't know that part. 603.
The code was part of the law, and so they violated the law.
That's how I view it.
Fair enough.
This is Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
Crack cocaine, the way it hurts individuals and communities, I would really like to see dealers get the death penalty.
Why are you so violent?
It's a violent drug. It gets to your brain. It reorganizes. It actually physically changes the structure of your brain.
That's true with alcohol. The community is being put in danger by the fact that these drugs are illegal. I don't use crystal meth, but I'm in danger from those who do use crystal meth in that if they need another hit, and they can't afford it, and their drug dealer's not willing to accept a BJ in order to give them a hit of crystal meth, then they are going to go and steal things, break into cars, break into homes. If you can't see how prohibition creates more problems than it solves, if you can't see how prohibition leads to more violence,
just look at Al Capone and the history of alcohol.
Yes.
It's simple.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back. It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6. Mark, you're talking. Aren't you? Were you talking to me, Mark?
Not working with people in the studio.
I'm going to mute Mark for a moment while he figures out what he's doing. Can you shoot him a message and ask him who he's talking to?
Yes.
Because he's broadcasting whatever that is onto the air. I guess he wasn't watching the clock. Anyway, coming to us from MSNBC, the Second Amendment. There's apparently a gun control case before the Second Amendment, and it's going to help define the scope of the Second Amendment. Now, I think the scope of the Second Amendment is pretty clear. It doesn't provide any restrictions on the ownership of a means of protecting oneself. And
shall not be infringed, according to it.
Yes, and I have to say, I realize people out there think I'm going. Mark, you're unmuted, by the way. I think people out there are going to think that I'm crazy for saying this, but I believe this extends to nuclear weapons. The entire idea was that the government wouldn't have weapons that we wouldn't have. But because of nuclear weapons and fighter jets and smart bombs and cluster bombs and satellites and all of the other fancy toys the U.S. military has, we are absolutely outgunned.
Oh, yeah.
But during the 18th century, the weapon that a person used to hunt with would have been pretty much the same weapon they would have used to fight a war with. So there was no thought of the government having better arms than the people. That's not the case today. No one's going to take an AR-15 to go deer hunting to feed their family or whatever. You could, but
you could.
But it would be unwise.
It's not the right tool for the job.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. This case, which will be argued in the fall, challenges New York's law that places limits on a person's ability to obtain a license to carry a gun outside of the home. Now, isn't it almost impossible to acquire one of these licenses in New York or California, a license to carry?
Yeah.
Well, it ain't easy.
The law requires those individuals show a proper cause and an actual and articulable reason to carry the gun outside the home. Wow. More than a half dozen states have similar laws. I imagine Massachusetts is one of them.
Likely. I think Massachusetts is the worst in the whole United States when it comes to gun laws.
Really? Worse than New York and California?
I feel like...
Well, New York's issue is New York City. I think New York State is relatively less controlled.
Well, most of New York is rural.
Right.
It's just that when you get to New York City,
it becomes...
This is the problem in so many states is that these metros determine what the laws are for a bunch of people out in the woods in so many states.
Is this... But the New York City laws don't... I don't understand why.
I believe the New York State laws are driven in large part by the New York City representatives, which are legion.
Oh, absolutely. The Supreme Court will make its decision against a backdrop of a country grappling with routine mass shootings. I don't know how true that statement is. Not just because I don't follow the news that closely, especially these days, but what do they define as a mass shooting and how frequent do they actually happen?
I think it has to be 3 or more or something like that. Have to be shot.
Wasn't there one recent? Wasn't there a recent mass shooting?
I don't know. I try not to pay attention to them anymore because I don't really believe them too much. Like, I don't believe what the media is putting out there about them. You know, they'll put, first, middle, and last name. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
So this also marks the first time in more than a decade that the nation's high court has dipped its collective toes into one of the most pressing and controversial legal issues facing our country. Last night, someone hit me up wearing a shirt that said, protect children, not guns. And I immediately, ignored this person. But it made me want a t-shirt that said, protect children with guns. Because that would be the best way of protecting children is with a gun.
I've definitely gotten an argument with someone from Moms the Men Action wearing that shirt.
It's a common shirt. This was the first time I had ever seen it. I'm not surprised, and I understand people's impulse. Oh God, we have to ban guns because school shootings and kids could be hurt and all that.
Think about the kids.
Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from emotionally. The problem is you can't fix the world by using your emotions as a pathway to truth. Emotions are not valid pathways to truth. You have to actually rationally think about how to solve a problem in order to solve it. Feeling about a problem isn't going to solve it.
Well, that's what the cops are nowadays. They're feelings police.
They are. I mean, to give an example, here in the studio, I can't feel my way into getting Mark on the air. That's something that you have to actually think about and figure out and work through. That's the same with every single issue on the planet. Just go, oh man, it's so sad that Mark can't get on. And boom, magically Mark is on. No, that's not the way it works. And in fact, the more that I sat there stewing and being upset that I couldn't figure it out, the less likely I would be to figure it out.
Here. Really, when when you get into an emotional spiral, you're not going to solve a problem. And I understand everybody's concerns surrounding all the social issues out there, but frankly, social media has given every idiot the ability to emote about everything that's going on, as though they're some kind of statesman with a solution.
For the last decade, you're absolutely right. For the last decade, I've been watching how I word things. And what I mean by that is one phrase in particular. You hear a lot of people say, I think this or I think that. But then there's this other subset of people that always say, I feel this. I feel this is a bad idea. I feel that is a bad idea. I don't really care what your feelings are. I want you to think about it. And I think for a lot of people, what they believe is that their feelings are thoughts, but they're not. There's no rationality to them. There's no thought process to them. It's just a raw feeling.
Knee-jerk reaction to, why you feel uncomfortable.
Yes. And instead
I'm sad and upset. And I hate capitalism.
Yeah.
What?
That's not a pathway to truth. I'm sad and upset about things too, but I recognize that being sad and upset about it isn't going to solve any problems. What would being sad and upset about the FBI raid on me accomplish beyond making me sad and upset? It's not going to make the government go, "Oh, you're right. We feel really bad about this. We're just gonna leave you alone. Sorry to upset you."
Actually, that might work.
I don't see any chance whatsoever of that working, but
she doesn't feel good about this. Let's drop the charges.
But I mean, we live in a world where people are going to do things regularly that upset you. But see, that's where people get it wrong. If you're upset, I didn't upset you. You became upset as a reaction to something I said or did. I can't control your reaction. I can't control what I do. Maybe I did something that was out of line, but that still doesn't mean I made you angry or I made you upset. You control your emotional responses to something. I don't. The external stimuli around you, you have to learn as a thinking, functioning human being to control your emotional reaction to things that happen around you. And too many people today, they don't control their emotional reactions to things. And they think that their emotional reactions to things are my responsibility to deal with. Like, oh, they're upset about me using the word transsexual, so I have to stop using the word transsexual. No, you should stop being upset. But you can be as upset as you want. It's your problem, not mine.
I've been guilty of this recently, like I overreact and it gets the best of me. And, I try to ask other people for advice and that sort of thing. But I'm definitely not like, putting that vibration out there to make things better. I'm doing it because I'm trying to figure things out. But anyways.
I got frustrated today with the tech issues of trying to get Mark up and running so that we can actually hear him broadcast. And he was receiving no audio from us. And I just got so frustrated because I thought I understood how it worked.
That offended me, Daria.
Yeah, it offended me.
I'm so offended that I think the tech problems were probably cis white males.
Yes, I believe most of them, in fact, were cis white males when they came here on March the 16th.
No, I meant the tech problems, but yes.
Oh, well, I mean, the cause of the tech problems more than likely were cis white males. Not that really matters, but yeah.
Likely.
Facts are what they are.
There were some women involved in that raid.
Sure. But predominantly it was men.
Yes.
But, being upset about it didn't help me solve the problem at all. In fact, it just made things worse because, the captain could tell I was upset, Mark could tell I was upset, and nothing was actually being accomplished until I, took a deep breath, went outside, smoked a cigarette, calmed down, came back and addressed it like a rational. Everyone gets upset, right? And that's okay. The important thing to do is to control how you lash out, to apologize when you're wrong, and to take steps so that you don't lash out at people in the future. 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
How many lawyers does it take to change a light bulb? None. They'd rather keep their clients in the dark. There are too many lawyer jokes to count. However, there are some lawyers with more noble intentions. At the Institute for Justice, we bring the light to our clients. We are a non-profit public interest law firm with clear values and principles. At IJ, we fight for those whose most basic rights are denied by the government. Visit our website today at ij.org.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Hailing the guidance. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Biden with praise for the Centers for Disease Control's decision that says fully vaccinated people don't need a mask outside for some activities.
President Biden says it's a sign of progress that masks for the fully vaccinated are no longer required because the science says outdoors.
The odds of getting or giving the virus to others is very, very low.
The key, he says, is the protection the 3 vaccines have provided. He urged those who are still skeptical.
This is another great reason to go get vaccinated now.
And even though the president walked out wearing a mask, he left his remarks to head inside, mask-free. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
The tax collector of Palm Beach County, Florida, has ordered her employees to get a vaccine or risk being fired. Ann Gannon told the Palm Beach Post she did her research and concluded she could legally make getting vaccinated mandatory, saying her 315 employees have contact with the public and 2 tested positive last week. She said many others tested positive earlier and 1 died. The FBI is launching a civil rights investigation into the shooting death of Andrew Brown Jr., a black man killed by police in Elizabeth City, North Carolina last week. Earlier today, family attorney Ben Crump said the family had an independent autopsy done and found Brown was shot in the head.
What they did not know was that it was a kill shot to the back of the head.
North Carolina's governor is also calling for a special prosecutor to handle the case. The sentencing for former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, convicted last week for the death of George Floyd, has been pushed back to June 25th due to a scheduling issue with the judge. America is listening to Fox News.
Finally, get curcumin and CoQ10 together. Stop Aging Now brings you CoQ10 Ultra to fight inflammation and energize your body. Get a 30-day supply for 40% off plus free shipping with promo code FOX. Power and protect your cells for a strong heart, sharp brain, pain-free joints, and more. Nancy from West Virginia raves, CoQ10 Ultra helps me stay mentally and physically fit. Only from Stop Aging Now. Get 40% off plus free shipping right now. Go to stopagingnow.com and use code FOX.
The European country hit hardest by COVID-19 in the early days of the pandemic is slowly reopening.
Intensive care admissions are going down, but wards are still around that dangerous 30% capacity, and the vaccine rollout continues to be patchy. But people from Milan to Rome have been taking advantage of the chance to dine out again and go to museums. Though what the hospitality industry in many parts is really waiting for is the return of American tourists who are still not permitted to come to Italy. This as Italy lays out plans to use its portion of European Union recovery funds. The EU president has called the $900 billion kitty, quote, the opportunity of the century for the continent. Amy Kellogg, Fox News.
The Florida school superintendent charged with lying to a grand jury investigating the circumstances surrounding the 2018 shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School says he will be vindicated and will not step down. Robert Runcie, the superintendent of Broward County, said in a video statement, politics is more important than our students. Governor Ron DeSantis empaneled the grand jury after the shooting in 2019 to take a look at safety issues in Florida schools, but the scope of the investigation was broadened to look at corruption overall. Runcie is expected to be arraigned next month. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer with praise for the diversity of President Biden's cabinet.
11 are people of color. 10 are women.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
Florida officials announced today its plan to experiment with new 600-lever voting machines.
The machine operates through a very straightforward process that we think is going to give Floridians the peace of mind that their votes will be counted. The voter turns on the machine using these 30 levers at the top and then enters their names and social security numbers using the alphanumeric levers near the bottom here. Right about now, the voter's going to have to find the two levers on the machine that are exactly identical and pull them at the same time. Then they're going to have to...
The new 22-foot-tall steam-powered machines, which officials are hailing as, quote, the future of voting, each feature over 45 separate panels of levers, along with an intricate series of valves, knobs, cranks, and pumps, all designed to streamline the electoral process.
Now, some of this may seem confusing, but every voter will be given a comprehensive 2,200-page manual when they enter their precinct that will explain exactly what to do.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and as always, you're welcome to take control of the airwaves, because that's what we do here on Free Talk Live. We let you call in and talk about anything you want. As far as I'm aware, we're unique in that regard. The only nationally syndicated radio show that will let you call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. And if you value that, you might consider joining the AMP program. It's how we reach a larger audience. It's how we advertise, market, and promote Free Talk Live, hence its name. You can find out more about it at amp.freetalklive.com. Gunnerman 2002, for example, is an amplifier. It means he's, he loves the program enough and what we're doing and supports it and the ideas of liberty enough to give us money monthly to help us reach a larger audience. And we can't thank him enough for that. Gunnerman, thank you. Check it out, amp.freetalklive.com. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria.
And Joa.
And Mark.
And Mark is joined via remote. We think we figured out what the cause of the little delay is there. But we've been talking about Jamie Dimon and Bitcoin because evidently JP Morgan Bank is now getting into... Wait, did we move on to the Second Amendment? We did. Sorry.
Yes, we did.
I'm juggling way too many things at the moment. Okay, but now, with the addition of 3 conservative justices appointed by former President Donald Trump, that worry has turned to outright terror. And that's because I skipped a part. Advocates of more gun control measures have reasonably worried for years about the next time the Supreme Court takes up a big Second Amendment question. In 2008, Justice Antonin Scalia authored a groundbreaking opinion for a 5-4 majority of the court. Remember, at that time, the court leaned conservative by 1 and sometimes 2 votes. Today's court tilts decidedly conservative by a supermajority of 6-3. That is unless they stack the Supreme Court, as
Yeah.
as you've got opinions about, Mark.
Yeah, I tend to think that the Supreme Court's probably not going to get stacked, but I think these people need to be kept an eye on. I mean, they're dangerous and they're liable to do anything. But I think there should be a constitutional amendment that sets the number of Supreme Court justices at 9. Let's just stop this games.
It does seem a little silly that the threat is even there. That, you know, if we get a president there who wants to, they can just keep appointing Supreme Court justices. But doesn't Congress have to approve them or something like that?
Well, yeah, but if you get Congress that's ready to do some rubber stamping, this could really go sideways.
Good point. Since 2008, the court has avoided big Second Amendment cases. This may be in part an effort to turn down the heat on perceptions that the Supreme Court is merely another political body, but it is. And I think that's important for people to remember. The court system in the United States is the government. It is 100% part of the government. And this is equally true of the Supreme Court, where for whatever reason, the people who wrote the founding documents of the United States, the Constitution, decided that the best way to check government authority was to give the government the ability, the authority to determine what it could and could not do. And that's all the Supreme Court is. It's another branch of the government determining what the government can and can't do. It's not independent. It is the government.
They're manipulating the intentions at this point.
I'm sorry?
They're like the intention of the Constitution. So they're saying, we don't like this. They can alter essentially the Constitution through case law.
Well, they've been ignoring the Constitution for a very long time. As we pointed out earlier, there are no restrictions allowed on the Second Amendment. But that hasn't stopped anyone from restricting the Second Amendment. Over the course of the last decade, since the Heller decision, Mark, I assume you know what the Heller decision is because I do not.
Yeah, the Heller decision's out of D.C., and it basically said that the right to keep and bear arms was portable and went with you.
Okay. That sounds like a good decision. Not only do we have 3 new conservative Supreme Court justices, but we have a Supreme Court that must defend itself, its legitimacy, and the legitimacy of its members. You could tell this is MSNBC, man. They're not legitimate. None of its members are legitimate. It has no legitimacy.
They weren't voted in by the people.
They weren't. And even the people who appointed them weren't voted in by the people. And they certainly weren't voted in by me. Yet they purport to have the authority to tell me what I can and cannot do.
And don't forget that their rulings are called opinions.
Yes. So when Scalia died in February 2016, God, I remember the controversy surrounding that. People arguing he was poisoned and stuff. The United States Senate, led by then Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, refused to give President Barack Obama's nominee for the seat a hearing. The Senate waited to hold confirmation hearings for the seat until Trump was inaugurated and nominated Gorsuch. I don't know how to pronounce that. Then there was Kavanaugh's nomination. I remember this one because it was stupid. Well, they were all stupid, but this one was particularly stupid. Yes. And they get into it. During his confirmation hearings, psychology professor Christine Ford accused Kavanaugh of sexual assault when he was a teenager, which he denied. Kavanaugh's ensuing testimony can be described at best as angry and at worst as irate. Certainly unbecoming of a judge. See how much respect and admiration and just reverence they have for these people? This is a normal human being.
Well, the allegations were a sideshow to the real fact that, okay, maybe his privacy was violated here. And ironically, he helped create the Patriot Act. So I found it all ironic and purposeful to distract us of what really was going on, that his privacy was totally eroded and, and it's its own doing.
How so?
Well, I just look at it as the Patriot Act is taking away our privacy and that sort of thing. And then his privacy was violated. So I found it all ironic that was going on, and it was a distracting. They should have brought up that, he wrote the Patriot Act, and that should have been enough right there.
Brett Kavanaugh wrote the Patriot Act?
He was part of the, writing up that legislation. Yes.
Yeah, so, and that's Joe's claim. I'm just saying that that's a better way to describe it. When I think of Kavanaugh, I just wonder to myself, what's the point of going after any 55-year-old man's activities in high school. Like, maybe he did it, maybe he didn't. I have no clue. But not enough evidence was presented to make it clear that he did. I just don't think there's much of a point. People change. You know, the person that I was in high school is certainly not the person I am today at 50 years old. Well,
I can certainly say that myself. However, I would rather not have a Supreme Court justice who had raped someone. Given the choice between someone who had not raped someone and someone who had, I would choose the one who had not.
If all things were equal, sure, but all things are never equal.
Sure, I'm with you on that.
There's my question would be that if you could get a Supreme Court justice that would almost assuredly follow the Constitution as it's written in 1789, who had raped somebody in high school, versus a judge on the panel who had not raped somebody, who was going to be an activist who says the Constitution's a living document and, you know, all this other mumbo jumbo. Which one would you pick?
That's a difficult question, Mark.
Oof.
It's not a difficult question. People
I want people to
do whatever they did in high school, and whatever evidence is out there, and, you know, it's a long time ago. People grow up.
I just have a hard time trusting any politician nowadays because they obviously are saying one thing to get into office and then doing another. Yep. So I don't know. I like to 100%. See them stick to their principles. And if it's a good principle that they're promoting, maybe they'll get the votes. Not by me. I don't vote.
Finally, there was the controversial nomination of Barrett. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died in September, less than 2 months before the election day, when Americans were already receiving early voting ballots. This time, McConnell did not hold the seat open, but quickly held confirmation hearings for Barrett. Did anyone expect him to hold the seat open for the upcoming president?
No,
knowing
that's kind
that
of a
we
shocker.
had a Republican in office, and he was a Republican. I certainly didn't expect him to. Not sure it would have made much difference one way or the other, though. 603-283-6160. Your right to keep and bear arms may be decided soon by the government, who is deciding what the government can and cannot do. It's all very stupid, trust me.
Yeah.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive, and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. You can call in and talk about anything you want, 603-283-6160. I want to remind you now that things are still a little shaky here at the Free Talk Live studios. They are pretty much as we would want them to be, but things still aren't 100% right. And,
no, our friends are not here.
Well, that's absolutely true, but that's because they're in jail, because the Crypto 6 were raided and arrested by the FBI on March the 16th. Very rudely awakened, I might add, at 6 o'clock in the morning. They did their research. I have to give them that. Some of their research. They knew exactly when to hit that we would all be sleeping.
Yes.
With the possible exception of nobody, who is on an unpredictable sleep pattern.
Not sure what time it is.
Yeah. I remember one day he wandered over here to the studio, prepared to do the show, and a few minutes later, message on Telegram, I just wanted to let everyone know if they were coming here for Free Talk Live that it is in fact 7 a.m., not 7 p.m. What a character, man.
It happens.
It does. I've lost track of days recently, but I haven't yet lost track of whether it was daytime or nighttime. But you can check out thecrypto6.com if you want to help free our friends, thecrypto6.com. And even those who are free, I mean, these attorneys are expensive to fight this monumental case that's in front of us. Thecrypto6.com to go there and check it out. With you in the studio, it's Aria Joa, and joined via remote by Mark Edge. We finally got that issue worked out. And we've got Starchild calling from San Francisco. Starchild, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, guys. Thanks for hanging in there. You know, I've been listening more lately and kind of following about the whole Crypto 6 thing. And, yeah, solidarity. You know, hopefully get everybody out of jail and acquitted on these BS charges. And, yeah.
Thank you. That's what we're hoping for.
Yeah. I wanted to address the generation gap issue you were talking about. And I kind of feel like you're being a little bit too hard on the millennials. I think they actually
Hold
are.
on. You're referring to the conversations that Conan and I were having last night?
Apparently so. Yeah, I actually thought I was listening to today's show. I just went to the website and hit play, and that was what was playing. And I guess that was the show from yesterday, because when I got on the phone, like what I was hearing while I was waiting on hold was like a different show. So
fascinating. That should
there's
be
something wrong with the website, Aria.
Yes,
it should be playing the new show when you hit play.
Yeah, I know. It should be playing the live broadcast.
I know that
This is the first I've heard about it. So
that's actually been happening for a very long time.
But it shouldn't be doing that. This is the first I've heard about it, but I'll get it sorted out and get it fixed.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, yeah. So it was about yesterday's discussion. Then I guess I think that the fact that so many millennials are moving back in with their parents because of housing shortage is directly attributable to government policy. Government policies have created a housing shortage by making it artificially difficult and expensive to build because of all the regulations and taxes and regulatory hurdles. And I think this also points to a key difference between what I see as how libertarians and conservatives tend to see the world. Conservatives, I think, tend to have the worldview like, well, everybody should just, pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. If your life sucks, it's your fault. And there's always a certain amount of truth to that. I mean, I think no matter how well you're doing, there's always probably something in your life that you could be doing better to have a better quality of life or be more productive or whatever it is that you value. But I think that libertarians tend to look at it more systematically and realize that, in a highly statist society, because of all the problems that government creates, a certain percentage of people are always going to fall through the cracks. And while any one of those people individually might have been able to do something to avoid that or lessen the impact or whatever, it doesn't change the overall fact in terms of statistics and demographics.
I don't really
I blame the
disagree
system, not
with
the
you.
individual.
I don't really disagree with you. I mean, there's all sorts of examples. The one I like pointing to is the homeless man somewhere in California, I don't remember exactly where, who started shining people's shoes, and he saved money. And he saved up enough money to rent an apartment, and the city cracked down on him and said, "Hey, you can't continue shining people's shoes because you don't have enough money. I mean, because you're not licensed to. Sorry." So he literally became homeless again because of the government. Here was someone who tried to pull himself up by his bootstraps after going through some amount of difficulty to end up homeless in the first place, and the response by the government was to shut him down.
It's heartbreaking.
This is routine. The latest issue of the Institute for Justice, this great libertarian pro bono law firm, many of you may have heard of, IJ.org, has a story about, what was one I was going to mention now? There's people being kicked out of a mobile home park. I believe it was in Arizona, because of zoning laws. It would have been legal for this woman to rent property down the street in the same mobile home park in a different section of it, I guess, and have her mobile home there. But on the piece of land that she actually owned herself, she wasn't allowed to have her mobile home. So they were going to kick her out of her home because of zoning law. She couldn't afford to buy a new home, so she would have been homeless, apparently.
That's insane. And I mean, that's the government. It's heartless. It doesn't care. It has all of these rules and laws and codes, and you absolutely have to obey them. It doesn't matter if you're going to be homeless as a result of it. They don't care.
I found myself at age 28 living with my mother. And one of the questions I asked myself is that, look, I could go out and I could struggle and pay this rent that I'm currently paying to a roommate, and that person wouldn't care about me nearly as much. We wouldn't get along nearly as well. And why is it that living in with my mother is so terrible, but living with a roommate whom I may or may not even like is acceptable and agreeable on a dating market? And I almost always bring this up when we talk about the easy pot shots that one can take with millennials moving back in home and, the 35-year-olds living in the basement and all this other stuff, because at the very least, I understand.
Yeah.
Sure. I would take a pot shot, though, at anyone who was, 35 years old and still need the issue here isn't the desire to have a roommate or to just rent a bedroom from someone or part of a house from someone or whatever. The issue I take is the need to. Like a 35
The need to be at home with parents?
Yes, presumably because
one of the things that you don't get from that statistic is, are they moving in to take care of an infirm parent? Are they just taking money that they would give to a roommate or collect from a roommate or whatever, consolidating households? Currently, I do live with my mother, or at least my wife does, and they live together and do their thing, and I live in different houses that they happen to be in, and that's because it's just easier as far as a household goes.
Well, I'm glad you get along with your parents.
All fair points too. I guess I have to walk back the things I said last night. You're correct. I was wrong. It's Free Talk Live.
It is the system. Well, I'm glad.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line if you want to take control of the airwaves and talk about anything you want, because that's what we do here on Free Talk Live. We empower you to to express your opinions, to share with the world what you think. And if you're right, as Starchild was, maybe you'll convince us. 603-283-6160. With you tonight, it's Aria.
And Joa.
And Mark.
But Mark is away and connected remotely, and it's a bit touch and go, but I mean, everything's running fine now. So that's the important thing. And as far as I can tell, everything will continue running fine, but every time I say that, something else breaks. But we are upgrading some webcams this week, so hopefully, probably next Tuesday, we'll be streaming in 1080p instead of 720. Not that there's a whole lot of difference, but it'll be a nice little upgrade. I look forward to it.
Superstitions are just religions under a different name.
I'm not really superstitious, so I don't believe that my saying anything about something going wrong is actually going to impact whether or not something goes wrong.
Good, because it's not.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I mean, there is something to be said about, manifesting positivity and manifesting negativity, but that's not going to affect the little ghosts in the machines. Like earlier, we took a call and there was none of that weird buzzing in the background. But during Starchild's call, it was there. I don't think any amount of positive or negative thinking is going to make that sound go away. The only thing that's going to make that sound go away is to rationally think about it and figure out what the issue is and fix it. Well, let's go to the phones. We got David calling from New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, I was calling to talk to the FBI since they hang out there at your place. And
more frequently than I would like.
They're probably listening.
Yeah. Hey, FBI, how you doing, man? Long time no hear. The FBI, that complaint or that investigation you guys started with the DOJ in North Carolina on the most recent shooting, Andrew Brown, I think his name was. You guys are starting an investigation, potential violations of civil rights law. And you remember when I called you a few years back and I reported that the state of New Mexico was violating civil rights law under color of law? Remember when I reported that to you? It's right there in the file. David Brent Olson. It's right there, Olson with an O-N. And so if you could look at that, please, since you're opening that civil rights investigation potential in North Carolina, I wonder if you could look back into that my file again, that complaint I made about the court system here, how they were not following laws. The laws were written, and it says right black and white what it says, and I read it, and then I watch what the court does, and it's not what it says in the black and white written law, and that's a violation of civil rights. It's a violation of due process, unequal whatever of the law and application of the law.
Basically what they do is, and this isn't just the FBI, this is the federal government generally. Basically what they do is whatever they want. They've got all these laws. They can enforce them against whomever they want, and that just gives them the ability to do whatever they want.
Mark, I need you to turn your mic down again. It seems to be clipping. That's something we're going to have to sort out.
Okay.
But yeah, they do just sort of do whatever they want, and then they reinterpret the law after the fact so that it applies to justify whatever it is they wanted to do.
My guess is the response to you would be, "Oh yes, we have it here on the table and we're investigating."
I don't think he'd get a response. I mean, have you attempted to get a response from the FBI, David?
But their standard policy is they give you can tell them everything that you want to tell them as long as they're willing to listen, but they don't answer any questions about the status of anything. If they'll take your information and you'll either hear from them or you won't. You can't ask them the status of anything that you reported to them, whether they're working on it or not working on it or anything like that. They won't tell you.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But you mentioned, they'll listen to whatever you have to tell them. Of course they will. They're cops. They're always investigating. But if you're talking to them, chances are they're also investigating you. So be careful when you talk to the FBI or when you investigate or when you talk to cops for any reason whatsoever. Anything you say or do, whether you're under arrest or not, anything you say or do can and will be used against you.
Right, but once again, FBI, DOJ, can you look into that, please? David Brent Olson.
Thank you so much for the call tonight, David. If you want to contact the FBI, give them a call. I'm not going to just let you sit here generating a spiel directed at people who aren't on the show tonight.
If you hear back from the FBI,
what he's doing is he's pointing out that the FBI does whatever it wants, and that basically it's accountable to no one.
No comment.
Except for the Federal Bureau, or like the feds. They're the only ones that
I think they're the attack dogs for the banks. So the bankers probably have something to do with it. When the banks just go ahead and money launder and do whatever they do as far as money and nothing happens to them, no problem. But if you sell Bitcoin to somebody who might be a drug dealer, bammo, you got to go to prison for 10 years.
Again, no comment. Joey, you had a related article you wanted to get into, at least in regard to the former discussion about firearms and the Second Amendment.
Yes. Over at marijuanamoment.net, the GOP congressman's bill would protect marijuana consumers of their Second Amendment rights. So
as it is right now, in a lot of cases, if you have a medical marijuana card, you're not allowed to possess a firearm. Is that correct?
Right. And they're trying to work it where, if you have legal means of marijuanas, that you can also legally have your firearm. This new bill in Congress would protect Second Amendment rights for cannabis consumers by exempting people in legalized states from a federal restriction that bars any unlawful user of a controlled substance from owning a firearm. I don't know if this is just generally for marijuanas or for every legal drug.
What would be ideal would be for the federal government to say that marijuana is not illegal or not a controlled substance and let states handle it. And states are ultimately going to legalize anyway. And I suspect that will be something we see from the Biden administration is the decriminalization of pot.
And I would think Biden would follow the trend as Como in New York and legalizing in New York. And
Governor Sununu here in New Hampshire is certainly not following the trend. He stubbornly continues to restrict marijuana possession and usage in New Hampshire. And it's not even an issue I particularly care about because I don't even smoke pot, but it's stupid.
I like to think that maybe the governor has run the numbers and it's not economical for the state.
Well, it's economic.
That's exactly the answer.
Yes.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're not stupid.
I don't know, Mark. They're pretty stupid.
Like I'm from.
They are the government.
Not when it comes to getting elected.
Okay.
The one thing that they do is get elected.
Okay.
Like I'm from Rhode Island, and when they first implemented medical there, they only allowed certain people to even sign up. You had to have certain qualifications. And then guess what? The first dispensary is owned by a former state police chief.
I'm not at all surprised by that. I'm of the mind, though, that if they're going to legalize marijuana, then they obviously need to release every single prisoner in their state who is serving time for a marijuana or marijuana-related conviction. To me, it's absolutely inhumane that isn't automatically included in any of these legalization bills. You have people who are in jail for selling pot in a state where it is now legal to sell pot. Let these people out.
Yeah.
It's absolutely barbaric.
While my friends were streaming Eric Brandt's sentencing, just before his case, I was listening how some guy was trying to move over a pound of pot, but he had a firearm with them. So now he's in violation. And, I can see how this will, I hope he get exonerated, and everyone else that's been in jail with possession and a firearm gets exonerated.
What are your thoughts on it? 603-283-6160. Should we keep these people in prison in states where pot is legal? 603-283-6160.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live with you tonight, Aria, Joa, and joined via remote by Mark with no real noticeable delay in the broadcast that he's receiving, which is good. It's an improvement. It means things worked as I wanted them to do. And it means that, I do, in fact, understand this stuff here better than I thought, which is always a good thing. And we've been talking about various things here, but evidently marijuana has caused a lot of people to lose their right to keep and bear arms. And I sort of understand the reasoning for this. I don't agree with it, but I do understand it in the sense that when you're drinking, you're also violating the law if you carry your firearm, because you don't want a drunk person running around with a gun. However,
well, I'm not sure that when you're drinking, that you can't have a gun, but maybe in some places you can't have a gun after a certain blood alcohol level or something.
It could be something like that. But with alcohol, most people don't just regularly imbibe alcohol throughout the entire day. They set aside a specific time that they start drinking, and that's when they start drinking. And after that, they can put their gun away or whatever and, get drunk.
A lot of people like to have scotch and go duck hunting.
Do they?
That's a thing, yeah.
Oh. But
the ducks are caged, but okay.
That's not hunting.
I know, but they call it hunting.
But then, people who smoke marijuana tend to do that on and off throughout the entire day. So if their goal is to prevent people who are inebriated from having firearms, then the only thing they can do is restrict them entirely, because there's no telling when a marijuana user is smoking marijuana and when they're not, or when they're under the influence of it or when they're not. So I do understand where they're coming from, even if I don't agree with it. But let's go to the phones. We've got Joe calling from Michigan. Joe, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, I support legalization. I think if it's going to be legal, it needs to be 100% legal.
I agree. And I would
I don't
apply the
think
same
you're
to
involved.
all intoxicants.
Yeah, I mean, it's, but, I'd just like to say that if there wasn't money involved, there's no way the government would be even considering legalizing it. It's, people are getting off cigarettes and they're losing all that revenue. So, that's why these states are doing it. They're not doing it because they think it's, plus they're giving in the public pressure, but
I mean, that's certainly a fair point.
Here.
And states have done everything they could to get people away from vaping. I mean, I think it's in Connecticut. You can't buy flavored vape juice or whatever because
And Rhode Island.
In the whole state.
Yeah, there's in a lot of Massachusetts stuff, if not the whole state, you can't buy flavored anything.
You've always got like do-gooders that are in government that want to control their people's lives, but I mean, why do you need a liquor license to sell liquor? I mean, why do you need? And they'll regulate marijuana like they regulate liquor and other, beer and stuff. They're going to get their hands into it, and the big tobacco will shift into big marijuana, and regular people are going to be priced out of it, at least starting from scratch doing it.
Well, I mean, that's the point. The government wants people to open these dispensaries who they know are going to play ball and obey all the government's little arbitrary decrees.
Yes.
They're going to be good little serfs. Right.
Ironically, I feel like these dispensaries have complied with this mask mandate all the way, and they get a lot of medical people in there. That was the first reason why it
Well, if
started
you have a
becoming legal.
respiratory issue, you probably shouldn't be smoking marijuana.
Well,
I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, but you're assuming that everyone's smoking it by going to dispensary. A lot of people consume it by eating because they
point.
can't smoke and other factors. But yeah,
I haven't.
It was the
touched
first
it
thing
since
I
high
thought
school,
too,
and
Joe,
that's-
when you said it was about edibles. But God, that was a funny statement, Aria.
Thank you. So yeah, I look forward to seeing marijuana legalized, and I'm with you, Joe. I think if we're going to do this, we need to do it all the way. I'm not a fan of the state regulating it, but I know that that's going to be what happens because the state regulates everything because it wants to control everything because it's a fascist hellscape that we live in, and it has successfully managed to control us for the better part of a century.
and I want to give Representative Don Young some credit for at least reaching into this realm of things of marijuana. And he wrote a tweet today on the 23rd. Today I introduced the Graham Act. Using marijuana where it's legal should never stop you from exercising your constitutional rights. And he goes on to say that in another tweet, that it's a 10th Amendment issue, and that the states can decide these things on their own, and the rights to set their own cannabis laws as Alaska did.
Well, the last time states tried to decide something on their own in disregard of the federal government, it didn't end very well for them.
No.
But this is a nobler cause than was the previous one.
When I would say that is that probably the biggest problem with the Civil War was firing on a U.S. fort.
Yes, I agree. That was a silly decision on their part. Not being a history expert, as I understand it, that was the cause of the Civil War, and probably
it's certainly not the South's fault, but
it was a poor reaction.
You can't blame the South either.
No, but it was a poor reaction to the situation. I can say that.
Right. It's a bad idea.
It always is. Just because something is right or justified doesn't mean it's a good idea. I feel like people should remember that as well. So I go further. I don't just want to see pot legalized. I want to see all drugs legalized.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel like if an adult wants to make a choice about what to put in their body, that is their choice as an adult. I don't think the government should be in the role of gatekeeping what substances we're allowed to have, because I got to tell you, psychedelics are powerful spiritual tools, and the government doesn't want you to have them. They will never want you to have a tool that actually makes you feel connected and one with other human beings. That runs contrary to everything the government is.
Or just thinking clearly in general. And if you clear your mind with drugs and they don't like it, they want you to be submissive and, obeying to whatever they want.
Psychedelics help people understand the world in which they have found themselves. And what I realized was that, we are silly, stupid little apes running around on this rock, and this random rock in the middle of on the edge of a random galaxy in the universe far beyond my comprehension. And then there's this group of people over here calling themselves the state who are trying to run the entire world, and they are the devil.
Yeah.
That's all they are.
While saying Jesus told them so.
That, especially with young people, that I don't think that psychedelics are like a fast lane to good thought.
I agree entirely. Sure.
Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it takes work. It takes thought, but there is a time and place for everything. And it would be disingenuous of me to say that, who I am today is not a result of psychedelic realizations. But you have to be willing to put in the work as well. You can't just do a bunch of shrooms. The next thing you know, you're the Dalai Lama.
Right.
You have to actually think and research and have the capacity to do that instead of just feeling a thing. And you have to keep in mind, that these illusions that you're experiencing are just illusions. Don't be that idiot jumping out of a 6-story hotel window because you think you can fly.
Likely they probably shouldn't have a gun before they took the drug.
Well, I would certainly advise anyone who is going to engage in psychedelic usage to lock their guns away prior to doing so. The last thing the last thing I want is someone on acid running around with a gun.
Of course. No, that just sounds terrible.
I'm not going to advise anybody to take psychedelics, period.
Right.
But if you're going to, go to arrowid.org and check out all the information there first.
Now, this is the website that gives people actual useful information about drugs and what they'll actually do, not the government's nonsense of, shrooms will kill you, even though there has never been a case in recent history, a documented case of someone dying because of shroom usage. Is that what Arrowid is?
True. Arrowid is basically, it's an informational site that is intending to mitigate harm when it comes to drug use. What we can see is throughout the long history of humans that probably, quite possibly, abstract thought was created by psilocybin mushroom use, that civilization as we understand it, so much as the agrarian revolution, was created by beer. And
fascinating.
That people are probably not
I got to cut you off, though, because we can barely hear you over the audio bed. So thanks for joining us tonight, Mark. I'm glad we got all of that worked out. We'll be back tomorrow night, Ladies' Night, here on Free Talk Live. So be sure to tune in. It's going to be me, Aunt Angie, and Bonnie. Online in the meantime at freetalklive.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions, or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. It's bitcoin.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
The latest episode of Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network.